Another episode of the Joe Wentz Project, man. We're just hanging out with Brian Spalding this evening. We'll be right back after this intro. Stick around, don't go anywhere. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be right back. Hang on. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Joe Wentz Project. We have Brian Spalding with us this evening. What's up, Brian?
I'm over here in the dark, looks like it.
He's on the dark side. What's going on, man?
I don't have any high-tech lighting like everybody else does.
That's okay, man.
So if I sit back here, no. It's not doing any good.
So you were
Anyway,
you were in Hawaii, is that correct?
I am in Hawaii right now. I've been here for about a year and a half so far.
Oh, okay.
But I live in California, outside of San Francisco, and on an island called Alameda. But currently, I'm in Hawaii, and we have all kinds of family things going on, and I think a lot of people are experiencing that too at our age.
Right.
Um, so both my dad and my wife's dad have issues, so that's why we're here for support,
Yes. Yeah,
and we're here for the long haul. So
that's it. I totally understand, man, cuz my father, he battled cancer for a long time
right.
and I lost him last June. So
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah.
Oh, so
So
sorry to hear about that.
thank you, man. Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, man. But I wanted to get Brian on here and just to talk to him. He's always in the chat. He's always supportive of the channel. He always has really nice things to say. And so this is my way of saying thank you, man, for being so kind
Oh, yeah.
to the
Thanks for
show.
having me on.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. So I want to start with, of course you're a guitar player. You love playing music. So tell me what got you into guitar, and what kind of music do you like to play?
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting story, I think, for everybody. Um, when you grow up in Hawaii and you go to elementary school, or even before that, you're
Mm-hmm.
given a ukulele to play.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
a lot of families here are spiritually driven and musically driven, so you're going to be playing a ukulele when you're very young. And even when I went to elementary school, there was a closet in kindergarten where there was a pile of ukuleles in cases.
Wow.
And at a certain part of the day, you were told, "Here, take this ukulele, and you're going to learn how to play this song." And that's what we did. And I played the ukulele for a really long time, um, from when I was a little kid, and I kind of tapered off on it by the time I got to high school. I fooled around with it a little,
Mm-hmm.
but most of the time, as far as my family is concerned, on my mother's side, there's a lot of guitar players and ukulele players.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the kind of guy where, like, if something's like the it thing, or people are doing it because it's like a trend, um, I tend to kind of shy away from that kind of stuff. So
Right.
when my family would get together, everybody would be playing guitar and ukulele. And at the time, even though I knew how to play it, I didn't really want to participate because everybody else is doing it.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of shied away from it. But secretly, when I'm at home, I'll pick it up and I'll fool around with it. And you only able to learn what you have in the house at that young age. So my parents uh, listened to a lot of Hawaiian music, and my dad had a lot of jazz records.
Wow.
And one of the ones that really caught my ear was George Benson. So
Oh,
at
okay.
a young age, what I was doing was I would take out these George Benson albums, and I'd start listening to it and catching the melodies and playing it on the ukulele. So
Wow.
not unknowing to myself, I was actually transcribing George Benson music, especially the Breezin' album. I learned the entire Breezin' album.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Songs like Affirmation and 6 to 4, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I transcribed it to ukulele. I didn't know what I was really doing because I didn't have any lessons. Nobody really taught me what modes and scales and chords were. I was just using my ear to pretty much learn everything uh, off of those albums.
Wow. Now, how old were you then?
Oh man, uh, maybe 12,
Wow. Okay.
13, 14. So anyway,
That's awesome.
so around that same time, now mind you, I hadn't touched a guitar yet. Around
Okay.
that same time, I had an aunt that was really into jazz music and jazz fusion, and that's where it really caught my ear. Jazz fusion music was at its birth in the mid '70s, I would say. So there was like, you know, uh, people like David Spinoza was a guitar player I liked. I liked listening to um, Chick Corea and
Mm-hmm.
uh, Jean-Luc Ponty was another one that I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know that Alan Holdsworth was playing on the Enigmatic Ocean album, and that was like my favorite album. And I was always wondering, who is this guitar player that's playing? It sounds like keyboards or something. But
Oh, wow.
later on, I would realize who that was. But jazz fusion guitar playing it really caught my ear, especially Larry Carlton and Al Di Meola, and Al's guitar playing really was the probably the cornerstone for me as far as getting into guitar. Because then I started actually trying to learn stuff from Al Di Meola's album on the ukulele,
Wow.
and I did that for a while. And then my aunt had an acoustic guitar, and I borrowed her acoustic guitar, which was missing, I believe, a D or a G string. I think it was a D string at the time. And I thought, man, if I could do this, uh, move from ukulele to guitar, that would be awesome. So I kind of did that for a little bit, and then after you listen to jazz fusion, it just kind of makes you realize, man, you got to get a guitar
Yeah.
and try to get into some of that stuff because
Yeah.
I wasn't getting the vibe yet.
Right.
So what I did is at the time when I was in high school, I worked at a little mom and pop grocery store. I got myself saved myself enough money to go and purchase a guitar.
Oh,
And
okay.
so my first real electric guitar was a Lead One Fender,
Hmm.
and didn't really care for that much, but it had a vibrato bar on it and a single humbucker pickup, and that was actually one of the first guitars I had, but I didn't stick with that one too long because it wasn't a Les Paul like Al Di Meola played.
Oh.
So I got up to like $750 and went to the music store and picked up a brand new Les Paul, and that was back in 1979.
Wow.
Around the end of '79, uh, I bought it. Um, Now the thing is, they didn't have the one that I wanted at the shop. They had the store models, but it wasn't quite the one I wanted. So
Mm-hmm.
they ordered it for me, and the factory had some kind of problem, and it was stalled, and I never got it until 1980.
Mm.
Took like about 9 months till I actually got the guitar, but it was a
Wow.
gold top Les Paul
Oh,
deluxe,
man. Hmm.
and that guitar I learned a lot off of that. I learned that those soap bar pickups was something that I didn't want,
Okay.
and I really wanted to put in some DiMarzio pickups.
Right.
And I even uh, went so far as see a buddy of mine who was actually playing guitar in another band. He had a Kahler tremolo system. So,
Mm-hmm.
like an idiot, I had a Kahler tremolo installed into the Les Paul,
Oh.
and it totally killed the tone on it. I wasn't
Oh,
didn't
I can
realize it
imagine.
until it was installed, and then when I played it, it just wasn't getting the feel and the vibe from it.
Oh,
So I had
man.
had the Kahler removed, and the chunk of wood that they dug out filled back in. And the guys at the shop that I usually go to, uh, uh, wanted to repaint it. I told them, I didn't really care for the gold. Give me something else. And they said, oh, we could make it a wine color guitar, wine red guitar. And so I said, okay, that's cool. So, so I had the guitar in their shop for like about a month, and then the guy calls me and he says, "So we're done with the guitar, but the paint job isn't quite what we were expecting." And so I go down to the shop and I look at the guitar, and it's open the case, and it was like this fuchsia pink color.
Oh,
And
man.
boy, I was pissed at that.
On the Les Paul, too.
Yeah.
Man.
So I mean, they did a bang up job on it. It had a silver undercoat. I don't know if you have the picture available to you, but um, anyway, there's a picture of me standing with Steve Lukather where you can see the color of the guitars. It's really got a nice top on it.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, you know, I I thought about it for a while if I wanted to actually keep the guitar that color or have them strip it and do something else with it.
Hmm.
And then after some deep thought, I thought, I've got other friends here that also play Les Pauls, but they don't have one that's this color. And so I decided to keep it like that. So,
Okay, cool. All
and
right.
it's been like that way ever since. Since then, I have a buddy that owns a music store here in Hawaii, and I had been looking for a backup Les Paul for a really long time, and it wasn't until like I would say the middle 2000s that he finally found one for me, and we had been working together for a really long time, so he knew the feel I was looking for. So, so he found it and he sent it to me. I paid him for it. I think it was like $1,200. I think I
Mm.
paid for it. It was used Les Paul, but yeah,
Uh-huh.
let me reach over and grab it. I don't know if you can see it.
Sure.
Uh,
Oh, look at
anyway,
this. Okay, so this is your backup?
yeah. So this is my backup. This became my main Les Paul actually. So this is the one I
Nice.
use now.
Nice, yeah.
So so what I did to it is I had steel frets installed.
Mm-hmm.
I had them take off the back
Okay.
finish because I wanted to have a kind of like a Charvel raw wood feel to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's nice, man.
And then the volume and the tone knobs, they're flipped, right? So
Oh, okay.
so for easy access to the bridge pickup, I had this had the knobs changed over. So
Okay.
now this is for this the bridge pickup, and the other one down below is
Oh,
for the neck.
for your neck,
So the
yeah.
neck is just a standard SDS DiMarzio, but the back pickup is Jason Becker's pickup,
Oh,
Seymour
okay.
Duncan.
Nice. Yeah, that's what I was
And
about to say, yeah.
originally why I got the pickup is one, Jason talked about the specs on the pickup, that it was a lot cleaner,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of like how I like the sound of my guitar to be. Like for one thing, I don't like to use any effects at all.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, I like a straight into the amp, or as straight into the amp as it can possibly be. I don't like anything in between the signal
Mm-hmm.
because you know I'll be honest with you guys. Like even if I go into another show to talk about gear, I have no clue about gear,
Right.
and I'm not really interested in gear.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'm interested is playing the guitar, getting a particular vibe and spirit out of the guitar,
Mm-hmm.
forcing it into the guitar, and pushing it out to the audience. That's my main thing. Uh, I'm not into gear. I'm not into pedals. I'm not into all the little details that go into the gear. The only thing I'm concerned with is getting the guitar, playing it, and forcing the life into it and out of it through the amps. That's my main thing that I get off on.
Right.
I
So
know a lot
what?
of people are into gear and stuff, but I'm just not that person.
Yeah, I'm not a big gearhead either. I mean, I do have pedals and stuff that I use for my setup, but I'm not a big gearhead. It's not something that I talk about much at all. But what are you using? A Marshall? What kind of amp since you're kind of running straight? What are you using?
Yeah, yeah. So I use a PV Triple X, and that's an interesting story on itself. But originally, I have a Marshall 100 watt 1976 Mark II.
Mm.
It's got the master volume on there, so I wish it had a different channel. I wouldn't mind having it modded out so I could have rhythm and lead. Um, but yeah, I like to run. I like to run into a. So my pedal board would be a. Uh, I would use a OD1, a Boss OD1 for just for a little bit of a gain boost. I set that to like 11, and the rest of it is just the amp. I yeah, I pretty much drive the tubes. I like to heat up my amp for like a half hour and then
Right.
just crank it. So usually at like rehearsals, I'll be on like volume 7.
Mm.
And if we do a show, I'll dial it back a little bit. But usually at rehearsals, I'll be at 7,
Mm.
about
Wow.
5 to 7.
Wow.
Even on my PV Triple X. Um, let's see, with the PV, uh, Down's got a nice warm bouncy feeling to it, and so I like playing that amp. I don't really care for the rectifier. There's like a little bit of a tightness that I don't really care for, so PV Triple X worked well for me. So,
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, let me tell you a quick story about the
Sure.
PV. So, uh, in the Bay Area, and there's an entire story that goes from my learning how to play guitar up to living in the Bay Area, but we're just gonna focus on the PV Triple X. So I was in this band called Churchfield, and we would do gigs one now and then. Our biggest gig was like opening for Def Leppard at the Concord Pavilion,
Wow. Okay.
and that was like in 2000. I want to say 2002 or three, something like that. Uh, that was our biggest show.
Mm.
But anyway, so the PV Triple X, I actually got that amp for $1. And so how that worked out was that I was using my Marshall with the band, and the other guitar player, his name was Randy. He was like, he picked up a new one of those Joe Satriani, I think, uh, PVs,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and he had his Triple X there sitting on the side, and he was like, when we were done at this gig that we were doing at this club, uh, we were packing away our gear, and I was putting my Marshall in the truck, and then he came over to me and he was like, "Hey man, do you like that Triple X head?" I said, "Yeah, it's cool." And he said, "You want it?" And I said, I don't know. I'm partial to my Marshall." He said, "I'll sell it to you for really cheap." And I said, "How much you sell it to me for?" I said, he says, $1. I thought he was kidding. But I gave him $1 and he gave me the head, and I've had it ever since.
Wow.
Uh,
Man.
but back again to wanting to play without any gear. That this whole idea of my need for expressing through the guitar and through the amp came from this guy back when I was learning how to play guitar, who like you might say my inspiration came out of spite.
Mm.
So there's this other guitar player here in Hawaii. There's a lot of really good guitar players. Don't get me wrong, some really monster players. They're just in the bedrooms, just shredding away. I know a guy that's like does put it this way. He had a Tony McAlpine tribute band at one time.
Oh
He played
wow.
all of Tony McAlpine's albums, note for
Oof.
note. And then he
Wow.
had a Yngwie Malmsteen tribute band, and he played all of Yngwie's stuff, note for note. So
Wow.
like, you know, I was like low man on the totem pole. And so there's this other guitar player guy that was really into Van Halen, and this guy was like, he had uh, a character way about him. He was really out there and was kind of like the local rock star guy.
Mm.
But anyway, my bass player used to play with him at the time, so my bass player would tell me things that this guitar player guy would say. Well, I'm not going to mention his name, but he would say things like, "Oh, Brian, man, that guy sucks. He doesn't know how to play. He doesn't play with any kind of feeling. He's lame." And my bass player is telling me that once in a while, and that that kind of lit a fire under my butt. Um,
Ah,
and it made me realize that uh, in order to really speak to an audience, you really have to express yourself on the instrument
yes.
and put a lot of feeling into the instrument. I see a lot of people when they play guitar. A lot of them play guitar, but they kind of like they touch the strings and they're just hitting the notes. You're just hitting the notes just to get the notes out of the guitar, and that's
Right.
all they're doing. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not communicating. It's not taking the music that they're doing, whether it be who is it, Van Halen or whatever artist that they're trying to emulate.
Right.
And digging into the strings and digging into the instrument and really expressing to the instrument. So this guy really lit a fire under my butt and made me realize that I can't just touch the guitar and touch the strings and twiddle. You have to really invest a lot of yourself into the note, right? Since each note has to really mean something. Don't play the note if you're not going to meet it.
Right.
And so that's my main thing. Force the guitar to throw out the feelings into the audience, and you want the audience to respond. I want to look into the audience and I want to stare into their faces and I want to see that they're feeling what I'm feeling.
Right.
And and
Communicating.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so that's what I'm into, and that's the reason why I'm not really into guitars and amps and gear like that. I mean, you have to be in order to do the things that you got to do in music. But I'm just so into communicating with the guitar and expressing
Right.
that that other stuff just kind of goes to the side.
Yeah. I've
And
always been more of a interested in playing the instrument rather than researching all that other stuff. I just never got into all that.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I mean,
So
just for me personally, but
so back in the day, back in the 80s, I was for some strange reason I was really fortunate to like run into people and meet people that connected me to other folks.
mm-hmm.
It's like our little music community here, it's kind of isolated, right? You live way out here on the islands, and when you're younger and you're looking in the magazines, you kind of look at that and you're like, wow, what is it like to be like, Scott Gorham and Brian Robertson
Yeah.
and Thin Lizzy and playing on stage like that with those beautiful Les Pauls.
Oh wow.
And when you're way out here on the island, it just seems like such a far leap that you'll never be able to get to that spot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think when I look back on it, I think uh, that drive to really want to express myself really helped me to get where I was going, even though I didn't know where the hell I was going in music, because that's
Right.
really not. Music is really a hobby. You know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm the kind of person where like, as far as music's concerned, I really would have liked to be a more of a jazz fusion player.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all the licks and stuff that I stole off of Al Di Meola and Jean-Luc Ponty and Larry Carlton. Larry Carlton's another guy where I really dig his tone and his feel.
Right.
And Lukather and all those people. That's where I really wanted to be, but my friends here were all rockers, and I really wasn't a rocker too, or a metalhead. In fact, a lot of my friends would like criticize me for bringing a Larry Carlton cassette into the car when everybody else has REO Speedwagon,
Oh
Van
Lord.
Halen.
Yeah.
And hey man, pop in this tape. What is it? Larry Carlton. Larry who? Oh. Or Lee Ritenour. I was really into Lee Ritenour too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but I had to play with the players that were around, and so
Right.
rock and metal was kind of the thing that everybody in my neighborhood was doing. So that's just what I ended up getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and when you're connecting with that whole music scene and that whole crowd, you get to know some folks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you get to know some certain connections, and some things happen. They happen just out of luck.
Right.
Pretty much for me. I mean, I would say that's what
So
it was like.
you've been pretty fortunate to make some connections like that, I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you
Like
expand on a couple of those?
yeah, like one of my earliest connections with like a pro player was this is really weird. So we had a rehearsal studio next to the airport here in Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
and we knew a lot of folks at that time. And I want to say this is around like the from 1980s to 87 when I moved to Los Angeles.
Okay.
So when I first started learning guitar, I didn't take any lessons, but I really got into certain players. And one of the players that I was really into was Willie John Roth from the Scorpions.
Oh yeah.
If you
Okay.
listen to his early solo stuff, like the Electric Sun albums, those are really groundbreaking albums to
Mm-hmm.
me, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then I heard of this guy that was in Hawaii that was also into Uli, and through the grapevine, heard that he was teaching Uli stuff, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. So anyway, so I got the guy's number. I went over to his house. His parents had this house on the east side of the island, and his dad was a physician, and he lived in uh, an extension of the house. It was actually apart from the house.
Mm-hmm.
It was like near the garage. Anyway, so I go over to this guy's house, and it's Marty Friedman, who
Wow.
I first met in 1981,
Okay.
and he has a little you can call it an apartment, but so I go in there and I talk to him, and we talk about Uli and how we're big Uli fans, and I show him some of the stuff I learned, and he shows me some of the stuff that he knows, and we go through a bunch of songs on the Electric Sun albums. Um, we fool around with this song called Earthquake, and a lot of the really epic tunes where you really have to know your stuff if you're gonna try to learn some of Uli's stuff.
Right.
But Marty
Right.
was already, I'll tell you right now, Marty was already good even back then, even back in 1981.
Oh yeah.
Uh, you know, the way he plays, it's kind of like we don't talk any theory or anything like that. He just knows the instrument inside and out so well
Mm-hmm.
that he doesn't have to look at the frets. He just knows that the B note or the G note or whatever, high or low or whatnot, those are there at his disposal at any given time. So he doesn't have to really think about where he's going. He just knows
He
where they
just
are.
does it. Yeah.
And he applies this particular style to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, back then, he was in a band called, it was before Hawaii. What was the other band? Oh, Vixen. He was in a band called Vixen.
Not the
Uh,
female version. It was something else, right?
yeah, it was something else. It was, in fact, I think it was before that Vixen ever existed.
Right. Okay.
And a couple of my buddies were in that band. So,
Oh.
yeah, this island is small, so everybody knows everybody.
Wow.
So anyway, so after jamming with Marty for a little while in his place, we realized that, or he realized that, oh, I don't think I'm gonna give you a lesson. I don't know if I need to give you any lessons. He just told me let's just jam.
Hmm.
So that's pretty much how it turned out. Our relationship was just a jamming type of thing.
Wow. That's cool, man.
He moved out of his parents' place, and then he got himself an apartment in Waikiki,
Mm-hmm.
and he conveniently got a place that was right above a 7-Eleven. That's like his favorite food.
Oh.
Back then, it was like big gulps and
Yeah.
and and microwave burritos
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
hot dogs.
That's cool.
But anyway,
Hey,
Marty and I actually, I'd say like in about a year, we ended up working at this little music store called Hot Licks. And the owner of that store was really supportive. He knew that we could play, and I'm a person that I was never actually technically, uh, I never really learned from books or anything like that.
Hmm.
There may have been a like a Kiss chord book that I looked at and figured out what the chords were, but everything was by ear. Even all the jazz leanings that I absorbed from listening to George Benson and Larry Carlton and stuff. That was all by ear too. Later on I found out that you know Larry Carlton is the king of the Mixolydian sound or whatever. Uh, but being in that music store, you know, the owner of that store wanted me to teach guitar, and I told him, "Hey, I'm not a teacher. I never really learned anything like any of the theory and stuff that goes with teaching." And he says,
Right.
"Oh, come on, you can do it. Just come with me." He gave me like a little quick lesson, and within a week, I was actually teaching like I had like 20 students. And
Wow.
most of the kids back then they just wanted to learn like Metallica songs and whatnot. And in my ear, it was easy for me to pick up on that on the rock stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have a problem with it. And also I learned a bunch too. And then I was also going to college, and I had a stage band class, which I learned a lot from there from the person that ran that program.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's why even today, some of the habits that I had done on ukulele, as far as like chord melodies and triads and whatnot, they panned over to the guitar. So I
Wow.
still have a lot of those habits. I do like if you listen to Jean-Luc Ponty's music and really go over like a lot of the scales he uses. There's a lot of expanded pentatonic scales that he uses there.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really realize it until I was trying to figure it out on guitar. So I like I like all of that. I like to just look at the guitar, know that here's the landscape that you're going to be hitting the notes for, and just stay within the key that you're within.
Right.
Um, so, but anyway, I think I'm going off on a tangent.
That's
but
okay, man.
but anyway, so I taught guitar at this place along with Marty and a lot of other great guitar players too. There's a guy Frank Paulino who's really really good, and Mark Calavajea who also was like a monster on guitar. He had a band called Sacred Right at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and those guys are really good too. And so yeah, so on the off days I would go over to Marty's place and just go to his apartment and hang out and drink big gulps and just jam all day. So,
He's in. Isn't he in Japan now?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's always wanted to go there.
Yeah. He's been
And
there for a while, I think. Yeah.
if you listen to his playing, there's a lot of Japanese scales that he uses.
Oh, okay.
He uses a lot
His
of
picking technique is so unorthodox. It's like I'm like,
yeah,
how does he pick like that? It's
and it's always been like that. I mean, the first day that I met him, he's always picked like that. That was one of the first things I looked at. I was like, man, you got a weird way of picking.
I think we all think that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, dude, how are you playing like that? There was a
yeah,
video I saw on YouTube of him. I can't remember the gentleman's name. You could tell this was from probably the early '90s, and there was there was this Oriental gentleman, but he came to like I don't know if he lives in California or what, I don't know, but I can't remember his name. But him and Steve Lukather met at a studio, and they were just jamming back, just taking the time jamming with each other,
right.
and which was awesome. And then I saw that same gentleman, but he was jamming with Marty Friedman, and they were just the guy was playing a Strat and Marty was playing his guitar, and it was just unbelievable the jam they were doing together. I was just like, God,
Right.
dog, man, it was just like it was
He,
nothing.
if you listen to Marty's playing, he's always got an edge on whoever the other player he's playing with because he's
Oh, I'm
coming from
sure.
a totally different place, you know,
Yeah, yeah, oh
and
yeah,
his
yeah,
and his habits and his bending and all of
yeah,
that stuff is it's just it's
yeah. He's
in
incredible.
some ways people call it exotic, but it's just different, and because that's his way of thinking. Has always
Right.
been he's always been wanting to do stuff differently. He didn't want to be like everyone else.
Wasn't it amazing the work he done with Jason Becker and Cacophony, whatever it was called?
Yeah, Cacophony. So
Cacophony. Thank you.
I got a story about that one.
Yeah, sure.
So when the Cacophony came out, when that cassette tape first came out,
Yeah, I remember that was a big deal. Yeah.
yeah, and I threw it in the cassette player, and I heard some of the songs. Uh, there we would so his girlfriend at the time had a lot of traditional Japanese albums, and so we would listen to like Japanese melodies from Japan, and there was an album by folk songs, and boy, we would run over that album over and over again and just rip his the exotic realm of the